West Ham United are struggling to defend set pieces and in particular corners so far this season. We've conceded 14 goals across 5 games. 6 of them have come from corners and 6 of them have come from headers. However, not all headers have been scored from corners. Some of those headers have come from crosses from open play, and some of those corners have been converted via other body parts. But why? Why are West Ham struggling to deal with set pieces and in particular those corners? Well, to find out the answer, I've gone and watched all 39 corners West Ham have faced so far this season. I've taken some of the screenshots and I've drawn all over the top of them, and I'm going to discuss them with you. Now, word of warning, if you don't like statistics, you probably won't enjoy this video. If you don't like me chatting nonsense, you probably won't enjoy this video. If you dislike both of those things, you definitely will not enjoy this video. And this is where it's probably best that you depart. Before you go, please do drop a like on the video, just to be kind, just to say, it's not for me, but I appreciate what you've done. Thank you very much. Click the thumbs up button. However, if you're intrigued or you think this is a bit of you, let me know in the comments below. Please do stick around, and if you do enjoy it, subscribe if you're new to Hammer's Chat. Right then, a lot of clicking, a lot of things to get through, a lot of discussion to get through today. However, there's 4 categories. I'm going to give you my summary already. There's 4 categories for me. Number 1 is the goalkeeper. I thought Hermansen's weakness at Leicester was dealing with crosses, dealing with corners and set pieces, high balls into the box. I don't think Hermansen is good at them. It's not just his height. I think he's only just a little bit shorter than Lucas Fabianski, believe it or not. I just don't think he's strong. I don't think he commands that area very well. It's something I was hoping he would improve, but I wasn't expecting him to improve it overnight. I think we're seeing that already. So I think we're going to take a look at the goalkeeper. We're going to take a look at his statistics. We're also going to take a look at Fabianski and Areolas. What about the outfield personnel? We're going to be doing the same thing from Mavpanos to Debo, etc. Then we've got the tactical side of things. Man marking, zonal marking. How do West Ham set up at corners? Is this proving to be an issue? And then lastly, one of the things that's frustrating me, especially that game against Tottenham, lack of leadership in the team, lack of accountability, lack of responsibility, lack of organisation, but perhaps lack of permission for leadership. Could it be that this is how we set up by one coach in particular? This is how we set up and that's that. Are they allowed to adapt? That's the big question. But to summarise already, I think all 4 things are a big issue for West Ham. I don't think there's one quick fix. You take out Hermansen and put in Fabianski or Areola, I think the other 3 issues still remain. It's a weakness. And the worst thing is we're coming up against Crystal Palace, Everton, Arsenal. 3 teams good at set pieces. 3 teams with really good centre-backs that will target us. They will put long balls into that box from throw-ins as well. Then after the international break, we've got Brentford, also good at set pieces. So it's not getting any easier for West Ham, but they're going to have to figure it out. Right, let's start by taking a look at Spurs' first corner. So this is how we set up for the very first corner against Tottenham at the weekend. So the pink ones for West Ham, the pink players are those who are man marking. We've got 5 of them. We've got Somerville and James Ward-Prowse around the penalty spot area. And then we've got Juve, Fernandez and Walker-Peters all trying to pick up various players. So Walker-Peters on Romero, got Juve on Bergval, and we've got Fernandez on Mickey van de Ven. The 3 blue Spurs players are those that are unmarked. We've got Tell at the back post. We've got Polina on the edge of the 6-yard box. And we've got Sarr in the net at the minute. And then we've got West Ham's 6 zonal marking players. I think we've got 6, 1, 2, 3, 5. Sorry, 5. Souček, Mavpanos, Kilman, Paqueta and Bowen. They're all just zonal marking. Now that was fine. The one thing I will point out, I want to point out 2 players in particular here. We've got Polina and Bergval. So Polina is number 6 with the blue circle. Bergval's just above his head next to Juve, right? Keep an eye on those 2 because we're going to move on to the disallowed goal for Spurs. Now we've set up the same. The players are the same. We've still got Bowen, Paqueta, Kilman, Mavpanos and Souček all zonal marking. Got 4 along the 6-yard box and Paqueta at the front post. We've still got Juve, Fernandez and Walker-Peters man marking. But I want to turn your attention to the the green arrows. Bergval and Polina. So look where they were for the first corner. And now look where they are for the second corner. They're both on the move. Now, Juve was, if you look, man marking Bergvall, he's right next to Bergvall. No one's marking Pèlach, but Juve is right next to Bergvall. Well, here, Juve stayed still. So he's either man marking badly, or he's actually zonal marking it just by chance that Bergvall was in his area for the first corner. Now we know what happens. The ball comes in, Romero heads in, and West Ham get the free kick. But this is where Spurs take their first corner from the other side of the pitch in the 32nd minute. It's now an in-swinger from Xavi Simons rather than Kudus. And the reason I've just magnified that area, because you can't really tell due to the lack of quality, but Bergvall and Pèlach are now in there. They are both right in that front post area, causing problems. We've still set up in the same players are man marking. You know, at the top of that magnifying glass, you can see Fernandes is wrestling Van de Ven as he was throughout the game. Romero's near Hermansen with Walker Peters. Sarr's just completely unmarked at that front post. Sarr was someone we just didn't pick up at all. I mean, Sarr's at the front post there. Any corner you look at for us defending against Spurs, no one's marking Sarr. We just completely ignored him. Here's the Spurs goal. Now we know who scores. It's Sarr, number 29, who's changed position. So in the first half, he was going to the front post. Tell was at the back post, and he's changed. Now Sarr has spoken about the goal. He said that the set-piece coach at half-time told him, just stand at the back post and you'll get a goal. And he did. But look at Pèlach and Bergvall. Look at those two. So in the first half, they were going to the front post. They were in that area where we've got Bowen, Paqueta, Kilman, Magpans. We've got 4 players just stood there at that front post waiting for that ball to come in there. And dare I say it, waiting for Pèlach and Bergvall to run into that area. They didn't run into that area. They stayed at that back post. They overcrowded the back post. Their furthest forward player is Mickey Van de Ven, who, as you can see, is still wrestling Fernandes, but he's preventing Hermansen getting anywhere near it. There's no way the keeper can come for it. Bergvall's pushing Juve. Pèlach is pushing Thomas Souček, because if we go back to the very first one, you can see there Thomas Souček's in line with the back post. That's where he goes, and you'll see it later on in other examples. Thomas Souček will always be in and around the last man of the zonal marking, in line with that back post. Doesn't matter which one you click on, you can see his leg there next to Mickey Van de Ven in the magnified circle on the right hand side. That's Thomas Souček's leg. So he's always at the back post. Well, Pèlach knew it, and Pèlach went and stopped Thomas Souček from moving. Bergvall stopped Juve from moving. They knew Sarr was unmarked. Xavi Simons put the ball to the back post. 1-0 Tottenham. And I think that's a problem. I look at them, and the amount of corners we conceded against Spurs, I've wrote it down here, we conceded 13 corners against Spurs. I think there was 8 in the first half. There was enough warning signs that the zonal man marking wasn't really working. Tottenham won it twice. In the first half, Tottenham won it twice from their own corners. Romero's disallowed goal, and then Sarr had a header which deflected off Kilman. Now, I had a little look. I've written down all the statistics, which I'll go over in detail once I've done all of them, in terms of who wins a ball for West Ham, how many times did the opposition win it. I've got all the stats. I've gone crazy. Well, I want to go to the Nottingham Forest game now. This is how we set up against Nottingham Forest. This is the first corner for Forest of the day. We've got Fernandes and James Ward-Prowse on the penalty spot, which is what we always do. It was just Somerville and Ward-Prowse previously. Hudson-Odoi, I'm putting him in blue because there's no one really marking him. He's just free on the penalty spot. Now, I would suggest that that's maybe not the end of the world. I don't think Hudson-Odoi is known for being good in the air. Plus, you can make a strong case that Ward-Prowse and Bowen have got an eye on him. But they're swarming Hermansen. Look at Nottingham Forest. All their players are around Hermansen. And look at the West Ham players. They're just in their zone. Bowen's where he's meant to be. Paqueta, Mavpanos, Souček at the back post. You can see Kilman sort of thought, hang on a minute, I'm going to have to move. Kilman moves away from where he's supposed to be to get in amongst it in the middle of the pitch. Because if you look at the middle of the 6-yard box, Forest have just flooded it. They're outnumbering us in front of our own goalkeeper. And those players zonal marking, bar Kilman, don't move. Souček's moved a little bit. He's moved quite a bit. He's got sucked in. But Mavropanos has kept his position. Fulkrug is just to the right of Mavpanos. You can't see him, but Fulkrug wins the header of this one. He's zonal marking, but he sort of gets sucked in as well. But for this crowd, Hermansen, some of our players react, some of them don't. Now, corner number 2, obviously nothing come of this. You can see here, it's a bit of a clearer picture as to what we're doing in terms of how we set up at corners against Nottingham Forest. Fernandez and Ward-Prowse remain man-marking that little area of the box. You've got Walker-Peters on the line. You've got Juve grappling with Milankovic. Murillo, sorry. Yeah, it's Milankovic. Number 31, Milankovic. But again, you know, we're talking about the Tottenham game. It happened in Nottingham Forest one, which is their best aerial threat. Juve was one trying to mark him. Walker-Peters is on Chris Wood, their other aerial threat. Walker-Peters is on him. Our best headers, in terms of Mavpanos, Fulkrug, Souček, Kilman, they're all zonal marking. They're all just in a position. Now, Souček's watched Murillo for this one. This ball goes over the top towards Murillo, but he doesn't really do anything of it. Now, Nottingham Forest, they had 9 corners, but to be fair, we won most of them. Milankovic got a header. That was it. So out the 9 corners we faced against Nottingham Forest, they won 1 of them. Three of the corners went to nothing or nobody, so it was either a short corner, it didn't come into the box, or it was overhit or whatever reason. So 5 of them we defended, 5 of them we defended well. Again, I'll tell you who defended them in a minute. Let's go to the Wolves game. Let's have a look. Nothing to write home about. I appreciate it's a bit, the angle's not the best, but I'm not the cameraman. But again, it's our usual. Bowen at the front, Paqueta at the front, and then so for some reason, it looks like Thomas Souček's in the middle of the box there, doesn't it? But again, it's the same players, man marking. Most, the big headers, zonal, the lesser, man marking. Wolves, again, didn't really cause us much problems. They had 7 corners. They didn't win any of them. 7 corners Wolves had. 4 of them went to nobody. And the other 3 were cleared by West Ham players. Now, Chelsea, not so much. So, this is the very first corner for Chelsea and ended up scoring from it. Now, as you can see, they actually played a bit of a blinder here, Chelsea. Maybe accidentally. But they had 4 players on the edge of the box or around the penalty spot area. And what they've done is they've pulled Juve out of there. Juve's had to come out. So they're man marking. Those 3 are still man marking. Bowen's been pulled out from the front post as well. He's had to come out a little bit because there's so many Chelsea players away from that 6-yard box. You can see Liam Delap on Hermansen. I mean, I don't know. Is it a thing in Premier League now? You don't help your goalkeeper. And now, by the way, I'm not saying Hermansen's blameless in any of these goals. This one isn't his fault in my opinion. But my point is, in terms of the organisation, we've got players doing, like Fulkrug, for example, zonal marking, and then you've got their striker just preventing our goalkeeper getting anywhere near it. Now, I don't think he would have done anyway. Now, here's the funny thing. This goal was flicked on by Cucurella. Now, you can't see him. He's in front of Paqueta at the very front post. He flicked it on and Pedro headed it in. So you can see Wan-Bissaka with Pedro there, meant to be man marking him, loses him. And Paqueta, who's usually the one at the front post alongside Bowen, well, Bowen's been pulled out of position for this one. And Paqueta gets beaten to at the front post by Cucurella, flicked on into the 6-yard box. Pedro heads home, 1-0 Chelsea. We conceded 3 corners against Chelsea. I'm not going to bring up the one Chalobah scored. That was the one that came in. Wan-Bissaka headed it and Manson punched him in the back of the head, and then it got flicked down to Chalobah, and there was just no one defending it, and it just got flicked into the back of the net. But what I do want to pick up is the Chelsea corner that Caicedo scored from. Because just look at Caicedo, right? He's the one with the big blue arrow. Again, Liam Delap's on Hermansen. No one cares. Everyone's just leaving the striker. Now, Paqueta's the one that's been sort of sucked forward. So is Bowen. So our front post protection's gone. Paqueta's had to go short. Bowen's had to go short. Now, you can see there, Ward-Prowse and Juve, neither of them are really marking anyone. They're both marking the same player, and neither is marking Caicedo. You got Wilson and Freddie Potts on the penalty spot area, both man marking. Wan-Bissaka's man marking Tosin. Then we've got our 3 zonal markers in Agerd, Kilman and Souček along the 6-yard line. But no one's marking Caicedo. This is important, not only because he scores. If we just go forward a couple, let's just see how. So that's 35 on the clock. This is 34 seconds later. Caicedo's unmarked. Thought, do you know what? I'm going to go in. Gusto's outside the box. Happy days. So now you've got Ward-Prowse and Juve, and I will keep mentioning these two. So we just flick back to Ward-Prowse and Juve. So there they are. Ward-Prowse is next to whoever that may be. Is it Fernandez? Looks like Enzo, doesn't it? But he usually takes the corners. Is it Neto? I'm not sure. Anyway, Ward-Prowse is marking that Chelsea player. Juve's sort of there. Yeah, it was Neto, number 7. Right, so Ward-Prowse is now on Neto. Juve's now gone back in, and he's now on the toes of Callum Wilson. But the problem is Caicedo's sort of going round to the back. Now, when you watch the video, if I could play the video, I would, but copyright I can't. The video would be in trouble, I'd be in trouble, the channel would be in trouble if I played the actual clip. What happens is Ward-Prowse ends up coming away and trying to go get Caicedo. Ward-Prowse, who's possibly the furthest player away out of that cluster of players, he's the furthest one away from Caicedo. He goes to go get him. But at no point in the clip is there any... No one's pointing. No one's saying, oh, go get Caicedo. Maybe they were talking. They probably were talking. But there's no evidence of the players physically by taking charge and saying, you go get him, you go get him. There's none of it. It feels a bit like Ward-Prowse has just done it off his own back. But he's way too slow. So the ball comes in. Hermansen sort of goes to catch it and drops it. It clatters into Kilman. I think Wilson clatters into Hermansen in the air. And it just falls to Caicedo, who just flicks it home. He's completely unmarked the entire time. It's just lack of leadership, lack of organisation, and the man marking, zonal marking just falling down. All right, Sunderland, a bit more positive though. Again, here we are. We're doing our usual man marking. Some of them are man marking, some of them are zonal marking. I think because of the way that Sunderland's set up, it forced us to man mark more than usual. You know, Ballard went to the back post and him and Todibo were wrestling each other throughout the afternoon. There was a lot of grappling going on when we played Sunderland. So this is how we defended the first corner. We were fine enough. Agerd ended up heading that one behind for another corner. But here's the second half. Sunderland start pinging it to the back post. And again, you can just see the wrestling going on at the back stick. Todibo in particular was involved for us in Ballard for Sunderland. I think Alderete was on the pitch at this part. And I think he was the one causing grief at that back post. But there was a lot of grappling going on. And in the end, they scored from 2 headers, neither coming from a corner. Both crosses, albeit one of them was off the back of this corner in particular, I think. And it was Lucas Paqueta that was marking Dan Ballard when he scored. Maybe that wasn't when Ballard scored. No, because Ballard did not score the first goal, did he? But when Ballard scored that header, that corner that came in, Paqueta was marking him. The ball came out. Paqueta naturally moved up. Then when it came back in, Ballard was unmarked. Again, it's just putting almost like our lesser players on their biggest threats and then just leaving them be. So that's the games in particular. So we faced 39 corners in 5 games. The opposition won 9 of them. So the opponent got their head to it. 8 of them went to nobody. Just overhit or they went short and didn't cross it. They just started playing it around. 4 of them, Hermansen came and punched it. Now, actually, I'll just carry on. Hermansen got 4 of the out of the 39, but then he didn't play against Wolves, which accounted for 7. So Hermansen punched 4 of the 32. Areola didn't get any of the 7, but 4 of them didn't really bother us anyway. And 17 of them, our player headed it. 17 of the 39, a West Ham defender, outfield player got it. And then there was just one corner which I'm ignoring, and that's the one that Hermansen made a mistake for Caicedo's goal. I'm not attributing that to Hermansen. He was the one that touched it, but he didn't clear it. He made a big mistake. So there was a big error from Hermansen for that one. In terms of West Ham players, so who's the ones that are winning these headers? Well, Souček accounted for 5 of the 17. Mavpanos was 3, Kilman was 3, and then the following players was all 1. Agerd, Paqueta, Potts, Bowen, Fulkrug, and Wan Bissaka. Not great, I would suggest. Anyway, we've got a set-piece coach, Narcís Pèlach. And this was him. This is his quote on WHUFC, the official West Ham website. Pèlach said, "My main role is set pieces now. I'm looking after the set plays to make sure that the team is organised offensively and defensively in corners, wide free kicks, throw-ins, and all this kind of stuff. So back in the summer, he's almost taken responsibility. He said, I do the set pieces. So now we've got someone to look at and say, this is your fault. So Pèlach is the guy that's responsible for how West Ham set up at corners and free kicks. Not Graham Potter, it's Pèlach. So he used to be the Stoke manager. Start of the 24-25 season, he took over Stoke September and he was gone by December. He was there for about 3 months. This is where it's a little bit handy for me. I've obviously got a couple of Stoke season ticket holders as friends. So I said to them, how was that guy at set pieces? Can you remember? And they said to me, they used to swarm us. They used to swarm our keeper. I thought, hang on a minute, this is feeling familiar. So I went and had a look. I found evidence of yes and evidence of no. Here's the evidence of no. I think this is Millwall, possibly. But you can see, feels a bit familiar with those two people at the front post and no one at the back post. But this, I think this is down to the opposition rather than Stoke. They obviously have a bundle of players on the penalty spot that make their run into the box and try and get on the end of it. But there was plenty of evidence of them swarming the goalkeeper, the opposition, when they were coming up against Pèlach's Stoke. And it feels familiar, doesn't it? Look at that overload at the front post. There's zonal marking going on. So they've got the man marking. They've got someone on the edge of the box looking after two players. You've got a couple of players at front post. Then you've got a couple of players dotted along your 6-yard box. Then you've got the rest in on the goalkeeper because the opposition decided to swarm it. So tactically, I'm not keen on how we're setting up. I think zonal and man, I think it's a very popular thing. I think most teams do it. But you have to allow your on-field team to make decisions. You have to allow them to take responsibility. And those on the pitch have to be willing to take responsibility. There should be someone in charge out there, whether it be Kilman or Mavropanos. I personally would prefer it to centre-back, whether it's Thomas Souček, someone that's really good in the air, that understands defending set pieces. You'll have players that are better at it than others. You'll have players that don't really know what they're doing, that need a bit of guidance. And that's why I understand why you put the smaller players on their biggest threats. The idea is zonal marking. You want your biggest and best headers of the ball in the areas that's most likely to have the ball delivered to. And then when they go for it, they're unchallenged because they don't have an opponent. They're not wrestling with someone. They've got a run, they've got a free header. I get it. You put your lesser headers on the ball, on their biggest threats. So against Tottenham, Kyle Walker-Peters' job was to stop Romero. Right? Here's the issue. When it's a run, and let's just use Stoke. When it's that, it makes sense. Because Kyle Walker-Peters can prevent Romero getting into that 6-yard box. He can annoy Romero, interrupt Romero. But when we go back to the game against Spurs, and the goal disallowed, Romero's where he wants to be already. All Walker-Peters is doing is just leaning into him. Romero's made that a battle. Say, me v you in the air, let's go. We're going to compete in the air. And that's where I think your man markers become not quite null and void, but I think the reason they're man marking is because they're not very good in the air. Or they're not as strong in the air as other people. But when they're in the situation that they were against Tottenham, Romero's turned that into an aerial duel against Walker-Peters. He says, come on then. We're both going to go for that ball. Me v you. Let's see who's winning. And there's only ever going to be one winner. And I think that's where you have to adapt. That's where Kilman has to be able to say to Walker-Peters, let's swap. I'm going to take that guy. So if it does come on top of his head, I'm the one going up against him, not you. You have to be able to adapt on the pitch during a game. And you can't run to your set-piece coach and ask him. There's no time. If you really need to, you're going to have a word with Hermansen and say, look, next time there's a goal kick, go down. Because we're going to go over and have a word with the set-piece coach and change things. You need to create the opportunity. We went into half-time. I was hoping we'd change it. We didn't. So goalkeepers then. Hermansen, I think it's his weakness. I'm still a fan of Hermansen, right? If he ends up being crap, so be it, right? I've got enough right and enough wrong. Everyone points out Ings and Hermansen. No one points out Isak or Wharton, do they? No one points out them once, eh? Anyway, Hermansen stats. So this is Hermansen in the last 12 months. Obviously, he played Premier League football for Leicester City last year, so he's getting compared. against goalkeepers in the top 5 leagues of European football, plus the Champions League and the Europa League. And these are percentiles, so where does he feature in terms of percentages? You've got his little sort of wagon wheel chart on the left there. So you can see crosses stopped. He's in the 62nd percentile. So that's not a percentage as stopping 62%. It's a percentile. So he's, just in the 62nd percent best goalkeepers for crosses stopped. Then you've got the percentiles again. Crosses faced, he's facing quite a lot. Crosses stopped, 73rd percentile, which is good. And as a percentage, you might think it's low at 6.7%, but it's the 62nd percentile. So it's quite good, actually. I was surprised at how positive statistically Hermansen came out at. I thought it was going to be quite negative. You can see there his goal kicks, he likes to go long. And then you can see in the top left one, that 95th percentile is for saving shots that he's not expected to stop, if that makes sense. Right then, Fabianski. Not great. 17th percentile for crosses stopped as, and you can see there he stops 4.7% of crosses, faces quite a lot, doesn't stop too many, which I kind of expected. And we'll do Areola as well. Areola's just the same, 9th percentile for crosses stopped, and then we've got the 13th percentile for crosses stopped as a total rather than a percentage. However, I wouldn't describe any of those two goalkeepers as a box commanding goalkeeper either. I wouldn't describe it. I think Areola's poor at crosses, and I think Fabianski doesn't come for crosses. I think there's two different things, really. So neither of those two goalkeepers look great when it comes to crossing. So I think goalkeeper is a issue. I think is Hermansen an issue? Yes, because stats aside, we can see it. We've seen it. Even when he does punch it, he doesn't always look commanding. It's more of a flimsy leap over someone and get something on it, and the ball doesn't travel that far. But we've seen him be at fault for goals from set pieces already. It's not good. Moving into our defence then. Let's take a look at Max Kilman. So at the bottom, we've got the aerial duels 1. Surprisingly really good. I didn't expect him to be this good. Winning 69% of aerial duels, which puts him in the 89th percentile. Now, this is, again, comparing him to centre-backs from the top 5 leagues of European football, plus Champions League and Europa League. So he's up against really good company, and he's coming out as one of the best centre-backs in European football for aerial duels 1. I was surprised at that. I didn't think he was that good in the air, but statistics suggest he is. At the top there, you can see his defensive duels 1, he's winning 4.69 per game, which is 59%. Aerial duels, he's winning 61%. Loose balls 1, he's 83% successful. So statistically, he's looking all right. And then last season is the middle bar. Again, 68% of defensive duels 1, 61% of aerial duels 1. So statistically, Max Kilman was a lot more impressive than I expected. Mavropanos, he is also impressive. Defensive duels 1 so far this season, 66%. Aerial duels 1 so far this season, 73%. Loose ball duels 1, 62%. So he's statistically looking good. Last season, he was good as well. He's improved this season. And I think the eye test backs that up. I think he's had a great start. But you can see there, he contests a lot of aerial duels. Aerials 1, 74th percentile. Aerials lost 64th percentile. So he's contesting a lot. But he's also winning a lot. 68.4% of aerial duels Mavropanos is winning. So a really good defender in the air. Don't worry, there's only 2 more bits of stats. Centre-backs again. Todibo, not so good. We've gone from 2 big green bars to 2 small red ones here. He doesn't compete for loads, doesn't win loads, but the ones he does compete for, he doesn't really win. So 49% of aerial duels he's winning. So he's losing more than he's winning, but it puts him in the 11th percentile against centre-back. So he's essentially in the worst 11% of defenders for aerial duels 1 as a percentage in the top 5 European leagues and Champions League and Europa League. In terms of his statistics, let's take a look at last season because they're slightly better and a greater pool of evidence. He won 72% of defensive duels, Only won 47% of aerial duels, and 41% of loose ball duels won. 80% of his sliding tackles were successful. So not the best statistics for Todibo. And of course, we've signed Igor, so let's have a look at him. I mean, this is... Right. So we can't have stats this season. He's not played. So last season, won 55% of defensive duels, won 45% of aerial duels. Loose ball won 50%. Sliding tackles he was quite good at. Aerials won. It's the second percentile. So he's crap. Wins 0.75 headers a game. Right, it's not very good. I say it's not very good. It is terrible. Now, he only loses 0.56, which is fantastic. So he's gone from the bottom 2% to the top 1%, right? Because he doesn't lose aerial duels. It's fantastic. The problem is he doesn't compete for them. That's the problem. He's too small. So that's the issue. So he wins 57% of his aerial duels. It's better than Todibo, but he just don't compete for them. He doesn't win them. He wins less than one header per game. So that's our new centre-back. So my conclusion, as I said at the start, I think tactically we've got issues. And it goes game by game. And the opposition that we've got coming up, Crystal Palace, Everton, Arsenal, they are good at set pieces. Chris Richards, Michael Keane, I know you're laughing, but trust me. Chris Richards, Michael Keane, Gabriel, even if you dismiss those ones and go for the second best attacker at corners, Lacroix, Tarkowski, Timber. I prefer Timber over Saliba anyway. They're going to cause us problems. Crystal Palace like the long throw. Chris Richards takes the long throws. They're going to be pumping our box. Everyone knows we are bad at set pieces. Tottenham players have admitted after the game they were prepared and they targeted us at set pieces. Everyone's going to be doing it now. And the worst thing is, when you go all the way back, if you want to take the first corner against Spurs, there's obvious flaws in how we go about things. If you take a look at the one against Nottingham Forest, again, you just crowd the goalkeeper and you outnumber us. Our players don't move. They are static. When it comes to zonal marking, those players, they do move sometimes, but they barely move. And if they do, it's because they really have to. And even when they do that, it's not that one, this one. It causes us huge problems. This is the one that pulled Bowen out of position. It pulled Paquette out of position. Diouf got lost. He didn't know what to do. And bang, just round the back post. The back post is, Tottenham has highlighted it. But I'll go back to Stoke City. Look, there's no one at the back post. Now, I'm obviously assuming that Pèlach was in charge of set pieces at Stoke. He might not have been because he was the manager. He may not have done set pieces. But it looks very familiar. You could swap that Stoke players and replace them with claret and blue mannequins, and it looks exactly like we do. That looks like how we set up at corners. Now, statistics, I've actually got a few that's maybe a little bit surprising here. I've made loads of notes for this. I've been doing research all morning on this one, right? So random stats coming up for you. So last season, we conceded 9 goals from headers. But only one of them was from... We only conceded 1 goal from a corner under Graham Potter last season. That was at Anfield, Van Dijk. Now, out of our 9 goals conceded by headers last season, that worked out at 14.5% of our goals. 4 of them came under Graham Potter, 5 of them came under Lopetegui. Leicester City conceded the most from headers. I know what you're thinking. 14. Which is 17.5% of the goals. So it's a bit more as a ratio. Hermansen was in goal, I think, for 7 of them. I'm going by my own handwriting. So 7 of them Hermansen was in goal for. 7 of them he was not in goal for. He was injured. So 17.5%. We were 14.5%. Man United were 26%. Wolves were 19%. So there were worse teams than Leicester at conceding goals from headers last season, or set pieces. One of them. Headers, I think it was. So my conclusion remains the same. I don't think the keeper's very good. I think he's causing us problems. I think he's making everyone a little bit nervous. I think the personnel isn't the best, although Kilman and Mavropanos don't look too bad, but that's about where it ends. You've got Thomas Souček, and that's it. There's no one else really with impressive heading statistics. Thomas Souček, for that aerial duels one, is in the 80th percentile from compared to midfielders. So he's top. We knew this, but he's incredible at winning. He's won 5. We've headed the ball away 17 times from corners. He was 5 of them, nearly a third, just on his own. Thomas Souček, and he hasn't been on the pitch every single minute of every single game either. I had a little look at Magassa. 49% of aerial duels won. So even he's not the best in the world, but he's got a small data pool because he didn't play loads of minutes last season. So I think personnel doesn't help. I think tactically, to be fair, I think my biggest issue, I'll put them in order. Number 1, I think it's leadership. I think if you allowed your players on the pitch to sort things out between them if they have to, that would help. Number 2 is tactically, but you can't change it tactically unless you've got the leadership. I think tactically it ain't working, and there's big flaws in how we defend at corners. The goalkeeper ain't helping, and the defence ain't helping. We're going to have to change it. This is Potter's biggest problem ahead of the Crystal Palace game, in my opinion. He needs to change it, and it might be that Pèlach gets taken away from set pieces, or he gets told, sort that out. Sort it out. We've conceded 14 goals. Now, Potter made a claim after the game, and I agree with him, which was we didn't really, defensively, we weren't that bothered by Spurs. I don't think we did badly. Open play against Tottenham and Nottingham Forest. Hermansen had very little to do. Red card onwards, different, but up until when it was 11v11, Hermansen didn't have much to do against Spurs. So he would say, and I think he'd be right in saying, tactically, we were doing all right defensively. But set pieces, out of our 14 goals conceded, 6 have come from corners. 6 of them. He should be dragging Pèlach into the office saying, what on earth are you doing? Because I'm getting my bit right and you're letting us down. At half time, we could have went on and won that game against Tottenham in the second half, and we didn't because we conceded a corner. That's your responsibility. Anyway, there you go. If you're still listening, a massive thank you. It's something a little bit different. The video does crap in terms of views, but it's something I wanted to do. Welcome to YouTube. What you should do, views. What you want to do doesn't always go hand in hand, unfortunately. Anyway, I enjoyed it. Hopefully some of you guys did. I'm off. Thank you. Hopefully you've already dropped a like on the video. If not, please do so. Subscribe if you haven't. I'll catch up with you tomorrow.